And welcome back to our live coverage of the Detroit Regional Chamber's Mackinac Policy Conference, an annual event where business leaders, politicians, CEOs, nonprofit groups, they all get together up here on Mackinac Island and talk about the future of Michigan, talk about some of the problems that we have and perhaps some of the solutions. And this morning we're concentrating on early childhood education. And joining me right now here at the My Vote desk is Carol Goss. She's president of the Skillman Foundation, and Sterling Speirn, CEO of the Kellogg Foundation. Thank you so much for joining me. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
How have you found the conference so far, Carol?
Very exciting. Really good speakers, really good topics, really emphasis on innovation and entrepreneurship, and the governor was very good yesterday. So yeah, very good.
And Sterling, interesting conversations you've had so far?
Yeah, but again, looking at, there was a panel with entrepreneurs yesterday. The governor set it up, encouraging people to take risk and be innovative, don't have nice conversations.
Don't be nice, he said. This is not a nice conference.
Yeah, so we tried to do this morning. It's like, let's shake it up. And then Fareed Zakaria, it was what is innovation? And we need to do more investing. He said more investing and less consuming.
Okay, so let's talk about more investing, and let's talk about more investing in our children. We talk an awful lot about K through 12 education, but now that there is starting to be the conversation coming to the surface that we need to get to children much younger. We need to start that education process. Sterling, let me start with you. Why is it so important that all of a sudden we start to get the kids into preschool starting at 3 years old? Yeah,
well, at birth, actually. I mean, babies are born to learn, and in the first 1,000 days, everything about how they learn, how they're stimulated verbally, how they approach relationships, and their curiosity about the world is all formed in the first 3 years. So it's even before they would walk into a child care center, their home environment, all the people around them. They might be in infant and toddler care, but the starting line is now birth. It's not kindergarten, and that was one of the big things that came out this morning, which is, no, kindergarten is at 5 years. You've just gone through 5 years of the biggest opportunity of your life, and if you haven't had great early childhood development and education and support, you're starting behind.
And do we see, Carol, that there is a difference when kids maybe have started behind, where they end up down the line? It's maybe harder then to reach them or to turn things around?
Well, there's a lot of research that says that those children who had early childhood experiences and were in a quality setting are reading at the third grade, on the third grade level, that they generally are more likely not to drop out of high school and not to become involved in the juvenile justice or the criminal system. So we know, and we've known this actually for a while, that children that are in quality programs early on and are ready for kindergarten, eager to learn, and on a really wonderful trajectory, that those children do better.
And you've seen this work through foundations, but now getting the business community involved. People may not make that correlation. Why is it so important to now get the business community to invest in some early childhood education?
Chris Ryzik said it yesterday, access to talent is the #1 challenge in Michigan, and talent development starts in early childhood. I mean, if a child hit third grade, on grade level, ready to take all those skills in math and reading to master content, they'd be the talent we want when they come out of high school and college. But if they start behind, David Brooks of the New York Times said it's sad we can predict high school graduation rates from assessing 5-year-olds. Right. So the business community gets it that investing early at the highest leverage. Right. Business loves the concept of leverage. The highest leverage for every dollar is in the first 5 years of a kid's life.
And could I add one other thing, because I think that did come out as well as in the session on early childhood this morning, and that is that those employees who have their children in quality programs are more satisfied, they're more committed, they tend to work harder, and so that's a win-win for business, that they have employees who really don't have to worry about their children. So I think that the business, this is really a win-win for business if they get engaged.
Yeah, and it is. I have 3 children myself, and one is 3 years old, and I have her in a preschool program, but it is that you're concerned, you want to make sure your kids are getting the best education and that they are going to be okay. And as parents, that's what your #1 priority is. I want to talk a little bit about how the foundations have really been helping out, not only in education, but now in the cities as well. And specifically Detroit, I think it's very interesting the role that foundations are taking in helping revitalize education, city services. This is a new arena I feel that we're coming into, Carol.
Well, I think, the philanthropic sector has a role to play in making sure that the place where we're investing, where we live, and where we work is one of high quality for all of its citizens. And so we see our role at the Skillman Foundation as a partner with the public sector, with the corporate and the private sector, all working together to come up with a place where everyone is supported and well served and happy. And so our work in 6 neighborhoods, we work very closely with the residents there, really trying to define what it is that's going to make that place a better place for children. And so while there are times when we lead in an area, maybe in education and in other areas, but then there are other times where we're supporting the agenda of the public sector as well.
And Sterling, sometimes people don't realize the investment that like Kellogg makes in communities, but it really means so much in the revitalization of the state.
Yeah, well, we have a big commitment to Michigan, but Detroit, as our biggest city, we have a big commitment to Detroit. And Carol is being modest. Carol and Skillman Foundation have sort of led the way into this integrated work that starts at neighborhoods, but looks at the school district, looks at the city. And now we have the Ford Foundation, the Knight Foundation, the Community Foundation in Southeast Michigan, Hudson Weber, Campbell, but they're all there working in an integrated fashion to say, okay, what are we doing in economic development? What are we doing in education? What are we doing in health? And we actually have a strategy mapping tool now where we can look at our combined work and ask ourselves, where could Kellogg, maybe Kellogg needs to come in with Skillman over here, or maybe we should go over here. So we're working in a much more integrated way.
Amazing collaboration, not a competition, but you're making areas much better. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And on the topic of early childhood education, we're going to take you now to a session on the Michigan Early Childhood Business Plan.